Oh, Sean, you're funny. All right. All right, welcome everybody. So let me know. So of course now it's going to bark at me that there's some network connection, right? So what I'm showing here right now is this isn't, it's not showing anything. So I guess I kind of want to feedback from anybody who's on yet. Is do you see our video? You should see probably 6 of the 7 of us showing right now.
Yep.
Oh,
So
Sean.
Robert says, yep. Gabriella
Okay.
says, yep. All Eldad. Oh, hey man. Sorry if I mispronounced that. It's my bad.
Ah,
Yes. 6 smiling faces.
all
Oh,
right, cool.
Michael Sharman says no. Okay. Michael might be on your end because I'm getting a lot of yeses, man. So
All right, cool, cool. All
check
right,
the
so let's go ahead
settings.
and
You
jump
know what
in
I'm
there. Hopefully
saying?
the audio is good for everyone. We're not we don't all have all the pro mics on because we're working remotely. So all right, let's kind of jump in. So this is, of course, the Amazon PPC ad battle. So PPC battle. This is round 4. So we actually, for those of you who are not on the previous 3 episodes of this, we actually did 3 previous battles, and we started off with was it sponsored display ads. And then we went into sponsored brand ads, and then we went into sponsored display ads, and then we circled back around to sponsored product ads. So this is kind of like the final round. This is essentially what we call the judges table. So this is where we go through and we've got our final commentary as far as which ads are going to reign supreme in 2020. We're going to talk about kind of our highlight reel as far as what each of us think is the most compelling to us. Obviously, we work in this space 24/7, sometimes more than that. But this is something where obviously we've got a lot of passion about, so we definitely have an opinion on it. So I look forward to this. And then ultimately, we're going to kind of come together as a group and say, okay, which one do you absolutely needs your attention this year? So let me, I'm going to share my screen and just kind of go through and show, oops, not that one or that one. There we go. All right. So that one should be showing the names and faces of each of us. George was off camera there, but he is very much here with us. So thanks, George. Um,
Nice.
Let me kind of go around the room really quick here. So with us today, we've got George Marissa out of the UK. He's with Clear Ads. Destiny with Sean. You are out of Alabama, is it?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Sorry.
So
At the A, man. A.
You know what? I'm gonna butcher this. Okay, I'm not gonna do locations. All right. So Destiny's with Better AMS. Aaron Michael Marino with eMazy. Brent Zaradnik with AMZ Pathfinder, Liz Adamson, previously of Agility, now of course with Buy Box Experts, Sean Smith, AMZ PPC Accelerator, and then myself, Brian Johnson, I'm with Canopy Management. So welcome everybody. I'll go ahead and show this slide again later on, but if you want to take a screenshot of that, that gives you a chance to see how to reach us. Those are our websites, of course. On the Canopy Management one, that should be like www.canopymanagement. People always put a .com at the end, so we had to change that. So, all right. So what we're going to do here, let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen here, and I am going to turn off my video so George can join in, and I'm just going to narrate from behind. Here, I'll be the backseat driver of this. All right, there he is. Awesome. All right, so let us let's kind of go through what we're going to do on this recap here on the judges table. Is I would like us to go through and talk about sponsored product ads, sponsored brand ads, and sponsored display ads, the 3 main Amazon ad types that are available through Ad Console. We'll also have some commentary regarding demand side platform, of course, because that's a hot one for us this year. And what I would like is for each of you to, let's start out with sponsored product ads and just kind of give your kind of a short narration or your short commentary as far as what you think, what people need to know about sponsored product ads in 2020. What is compelling for you about sponsored product ads? Wants to open that one?
I'll open it up, Brian. So sponsored product ads are obviously, they've been around the longest. I think most sellers are the most familiar with them, and they still to this day are the foundation of any good Amazon advertising strategy. So we always recommend we start with those sponsored product ads and build up from there. And so that's the main thing to keep in mind with those is that really is the foundation. It's still the bulk of impressions, the bulk of clicks we're seeing. And there's so many tactics and things that have, all the match types, and now there's ASIN targeting, and it's continuing to grow, and we're anxious to see kind of what else Amazon continues to add to sponsored product ads over the next couple of years. But it's definitely something that even though we're all so familiar with it, we shouldn't, and maybe it's old school advertising, or it's been around so long, it's something that definitely shouldn't be ignored.
Old school by Amazon standards.
Yes.
4 years, or 5 years or something.
So
Like
we're
maybe
on year 6 now. Yeah.
year 6. So
I know,
That's
right?
right.
Time flies
Yes,
when
it's
you're
ancient.
self-employed. All right, who's next on deck for the first sponsored product ad narration here?
Yeah, I guess I can just build off that. We can kind of go in order here. It is the foundation of everything you do, because you can utilize that data to reinvest in all the other ad types. So, I mean, of course, we want to build on it because it's the oldest, it's got the most ad inventory, but you can use pretty much all the data you get from sponsored products to then clean up your, sponsored brands performance. And you can use your ASIN targeting and ASIN data from your search and report to then build upon your sponsored display. So it's really low barrier to entry because there's so much ad inventory, and it's a great way to collect data that then make your others perform much better.
Cool.
I'll go next. It's just going in order. So I won't like repeat what they said. That's why I'm taking notes, because I don't repeat it. Theirs are correct as well. So just to add on to it, I would say like what's compelling for me with sponsored product ads is the level of control and the amount of features that they're building into that specific ad type. So like they expanded their bidding strategies and how to control like placements and stuff like that. So for me, that's been a big one. They're just making it more complex, but like kind of in a good way, because it adds on to like the ability to segment things out and target specific placements and things like that. So the complexity is that's what's been compelling for me, is how the complexity of it,
Right.
the feature set. And then Liz kind of already touched on this, but the different ad types. So ASIN targeting, category targeting. So, I'm wondering like how they might break that out even further in the future. And so it'll be interesting to see if they even add on more of those. So I think those are the big ones. And then those are mine. Yeah, let's stop there.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So piggybacking off of that, I think like because it's such like of a foundation and they're still adding on to it, I think for me, like the biggest thing is that, if you only had a limited amount of time, a 1% improvement in your sponsored product ads would most likely turn into like a higher ROI than a 1% improvement in any other brand forms. So that's why for me, it's just like I would just for sure put my time and focus into that one first and then start expanding from there.
Cool. Very cool.
Cool.
All right, George.
Okay. I think out of all of the different types, it's the most clear cut and the quickest when regards to getting results for us. So you can very quickly test certain keywords to see what kind of ROAS you can get from sponsored product ads. So in that sense, that's kind of something I really kind of like about this type of kind of advertising. But yes, that's it for me.
Okay, cool. So I will say, certainly with sponsored product ads, it is, because it's been the longest running, we've got the most data, we've got the most kind of, tried and true, really established strategies. Now, those strategies do modify. It used to be on a yearly basis. Now it's more like on a monthly basis. Those strategies tend to get to change over time as Amazon, of course, behaves a little bit different as they added new features, new controls. Certainly a lot of subtleties that a lot of sellers we've spoken to are simply just not aware of, that have changed over the years, especially in the last year. And so there's a ton of opportunity within sponsored product ads. like it's already been said here, it's a massive amount of inventory. It takes up a majority of the ad space that's on Amazon. In my opinion, probably too much, a little bit saturated right now. But there certainly are a lot of software solutions and a lot of consultants that are out in the marketplace now who have a good basic understanding of the sponsored product ad type. Maybe not some of the advanced strategies that we tend to use on a day-to-day basis in this group, but certainly they can, if you're a new brand, or if you need to just kind of offload, there is a much wider range of people that can help you, and software that can help you with the basics. So yeah, it's definitely it's mature in relative to Amazon, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Right, cool. So
yeah, and I'll follow up here with that.
Okay, yeah, Brent.
Brian, can I chime in on it too?
Yeah, no.
Don't forget me. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try not to repeat anything that's already been said, but I would say one of the biggest advantages is it's fully supported not only with bulk uploads, but also through the API. Some of these other ad types, not everything is 100% supported, but sponsored products not only receives a lot of the betas first, and building it out in advertising console / seller central is where you can see a lot of those things early, and it also benefits from full support of the API and bulk operations, which for us at the agency level is really important, but should be for any like medium large seller too.
Right. Very good. Cool. Thank you. All right. So that was sponsored. Sean, do we have any questions regarding sponsored products ads that have come in?
Oh yeah. Hold on. No, we don't. We're good.
Yeah, no. All right, let's shift over to sponsored brand ads. Now, one of the things so for those who are catching the replay, or of course watching live, obviously, we have put together as kind of obviously as this judges table, we've put together a pretty cool resource for you. It's only $99.95. No, I'm kidding. We're actually going to send that out free for all those who signed up for this series of PPC battles. But what it's going to be basically a comparison spreadsheet where it goes through and we talk about the pros and the cons of each of the ad types, along with what is compelling for us. So it's a much more in-depth than what we're talking about right now. This is kind of more of the highlight reel of each of these. I certainly invite you to go back and listen to the previous open discussions on for PPC battle 1, 2, and 3 for the different ad types, because there's some great information in there. But we're also going to provide to you basically a worksheet that outlines a lot of the pros and cons that we've come up with before we make final judgment today on this as far as who the winner is. Let's jump in next to sponsored brand ads and go around the room and talk about as far as like what is compelling about sponsored brand ads in 2020 for you. Destiny's chomping at the bit there, so go for it.
Man, I just love sponsored brands. There's so much you could dive into here. To keep it short, creative control, I think, is going to be the biggest thing. I think having the ability to tell your brand story is really big, but being able to upload certain lifestyle images, drive to store spotlight mobile versus landing pages versus store pages, and have the ability to write copy is huge. So if we can figure out some of the issues with targeting impressions, like sponsored brands, fantastic. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, on Destiny's comment on the creative control. I mean, just the fact that, when you've got that top of page placement. I mean, it used to be called headline search ads, because that was the primary placement and still is. But that's the first thing a customer will see when they're searching is that top of page headline search ad. And one of my favorite features that they rolled out this year is the custom creative, where instead of having the standard like brand logo, copy, 3 products, you can now upload a graphic, a lifestyle image or something that looks a little bit more stunning than the typical Amazon ad, and those have a high click-through rate. And then on that, kind of the second part of sponsor brand that we're super excited about this year is sponsor brand plus video. Again, just it's a new format for Amazon. It's very engaging, super high click-through rate. And so brands who are taking advantage and using these creative assets, they're going to get much higher traffic and click-through rates by taking this opportunity to do something different than Amazon ever has done before. It's no longer this standard, this is how the ad looks for everyone. You can now do something very custom, very eye-catching.
Yeah. And I think that all of this is going to become so much more important now that like Amazon is becoming more and more competitive. So just differentiating yourself in all of these different ways using sponsored brand ads is just going to become key.
Yeah, and I would love to add to that and say kind of where these ads are being placed, especially with the custom images that could make these products look so much more beautiful and striking and really capture the eye, is getting embedded now within enhanced brand content. So this is a fantastic opportunity for you to kind of have your products kind of increase its exposure through this type of advertising. And I think historically, when we played around with sponsored brands, because there was the spot at the top, which was so competitive, you used to have a really poor ACOS compared to the other compared to sponsored product ads. But now with video and custom images, we're seeing like ACOSs that match up sometimes with sponsored product ads. So there's definitely been that benefit as well with all of these new features. We're very keen for this to go live in the UK. It's just gone live in the US in terms of the video ads for sponsored brands. And because when it first got introduced and we pushed it out, all of our clients were getting some great results. So if there's any UK sellers at the moment, I would just definitely recommend get the sizes and the spec for the sponsored brands. Reach out to someone here. We all have it. We can send it over to you. So you've got those videos ready, because when they get launched, if you have your video ready and you can just upload it and everyone else is trying to fiddle around trying to get their videos right, you're going to have that edge. You're going to be the first to move into that. So Canada's just opened up. So if you're there, get on it.
All right, I'll go ahead and add in next. So yeah, I mean, as far as like sponsored brand ads, of course, is that one of the things that I'm seeing a lot more of, and that especially when it comes to both on one side with Amazon, but also from what I foresee is going to happen on the platform regarding sponsored brand videos. Obviously, there's a lot more sponsored brand than just video. Video is just kind of more of the new shiny object, right? But the videos is something where I like the fact that Amazon is reaching out to like some of the top consulting companies, like the ones in this room, and asking for their opinion, and and saying, getting feedback and saying, hey, what, this is our plan for this new ad type. What recommendations do you have for us? What do you think of these features? What else do you need on here? And it gives us a chance to to really leverage those relationships that each of us have with Amazon and say, we actually have an input in the development process of new ad types and development of those, which I think is awesome for each one of us on the call here. So the more interactive relationship that we have with Amazon, the better, in my opinion, and across, for the future of Amazon ads. The second thing, of course, with sponsored brand videos is we're already seeing where Amazon is having to put in some additional restrictions on content and video approval, because we're already seeing where more of the clickbait type of video ads that are already popping up. Didn't take long at all for this to start coming up, where people are trying to, they're getting creative and they're getting clever with their ads, but they're starting to look more and more, we start seeing these that are popping up back from what I remember from, the late 90s, where you get these, like the early 2000s, where you'd have these, these banner ads that were animated and would make you think like you're clicking on a survey, or there's some animated cat, jumping around or something like that. I think that those boundaries are going to get pushed.
They were.
And I think that and I think that Amazon is going to have to put in some additional restrictions on there. So I think there's going to be a certain amount of gray hat in the video ad type that's going to occur. We'll see exactly how Amazon responds to it. I know it's going to happen. So
yeah.
And
If
For
I could
me,
just jump in with, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
okay. For me, what is most compelling for sponsored brands in 2020? I guess something that kind of popped out to me that was interesting was there's this thing called Video Creative Beta that Amazon rolled out, and basically they're basically creating video assets for people so that they'll spend more money on this type of advertisement, and they're scaling it out too, and so it shows they're investing a lot of like manpower and technology power into video. So, and that's crazy. Like they're creating videos for free for people, right? And they're having like hour-long phone calls about this stuff, And so I think that's interesting. That's been very compelling for me, the video assets that they're creating for people. It just gave me some insight into like where their resources are going and what they think the future is. So like, or like where they want to invest their resources. So that gives me some insight there. That's been compelling. Always compelling for me with sponsored brands is the creative control. It's like, it's a good thing, but you have to get good at it. And so like that takes time. Sponsored products, you just like click
Throw
some
something
buttons
up. Yeah.
and you're Gucci. Yeah. But man, like with sponsored brands, like you've got to write headlines, and then you've got to make sure there's congruency between headlines and keywords. And so this level of segmentation that needs to be done is a lot more complex. And what I've seen over time with like, back in the AMS days up to now is that sponsored brands, they used to be so easy to just launch and get really good ACOS. And now we're seeing that it's a lot tougher than it used to be. Like looking at our previous systems that we used to use versus we'll apply those previous systems to like now, and it just won't get the type of results that we're looking for. And so we have to build new systems. And really like the big insight for us was we can't have such like a general approach to it. We have to be good at like segmenting the creatives. So it's a good thing if you get good at it, but it's also a bigger barrier to entry versus sponsored products, right? Somebody was saying like low barrier to entry with sponsored products, sponsored brands, higher barrier to entry, because you have to be brand registered as well. And so those are kind of compelling for me.
Yeah, to piggyback off the creative discussion, the one thing we're always thinking about at Pathfinder is alternative languages, outside of just English. So we're pretty focused in the EU. And so one feature that has come into existence recently is the ability to sometimes for people who have their language settings different. For instance, Spanish in the US and French in Canada, for instance. And I've heard some rumors about that happening to store pages too. So you could have a store page in the US that would also be set to Spanish language. And of course, you need to translate the images you're using and things like that. And that also relates closely to the other thing that's exciting about sponsored brands, which is sending that traffic to your store page. So having a well-segmented, properly built store page and then sending traffic to it is something that we put a lot of emphasis on for clients and believe quite strongly in because we see better results there typically, and encourage clients to either work with us to get a store page created or to do it in-house. As long as it looks good and it's going to convert well, we don't really care. But that's one of the big destinations for us in terms of like target for sponsored brands.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll just echo that on storefront. Sponsor brands is the one ad type you can send to storefront, and they just launched the storefront spotlight. I think across more sellers. It's been in beta for a little while, but it's expanding now. And we have been. There are so many indications from Amazon that storefront really is going to be the hub of Amazon marketing and whatnot. Amazon really wants to see these brand storefront pages built up. They want traffic going to them. And if you pair that with a really sharp sponsored brand ad, you're going to be able to increase average order value. You're going to increase, that cross purchasing, upselling, because you're sending them to see your entire catalog. You're not just sending them to one product page or just even a list that you've curated, which is still can be good in some cases. But the storefront will allow that shopper to actually be introduced to you as a brand. And here's my catalog, and here's the 10,000 things you can buy from us. But again, like Brent was saying, you've got to organize it well. You've got to make it easy to shop. You've got to make sure they came from a very different shopping experience when they left kind of the main part of the Amazon.com platform. Now they're in your storefront. You got to make sure that you don't completely lose them, that they know where to go and how to buy and where to click and so on.
Yeah, dude, I was talking to one of my students like yesterday, and I was gathering data around like the average order value from like a product landing page versus like a storefront, and we saw it was higher because his type of products people buy more than one of, and so for him it was more beneficial to run it to like a sub page with some multiples or the storefront. It increased, like he saw an increase in AOV versus the product landing page.
Nice.
Video and search being driven to store page is really going to open up some doors as well, because I know that's something that has a lot of big brands holding off on creating 700 individual SKU videos.
Right.
So having that be opening will be incredible for those larger brands.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common that that we advise that the videos don't need to be high production. They just need to be compelling from a standpoint of how do you differentiate your brand and your product from your competitors. You don't need to go into every little detail and tell a story. I mean, you certainly can tell a story if it's about how the quality of the production and that kind of stuff. That certainly helps, but just simply giving somebody a little bit more confidence that, hey, this thing's easy to use or easy to install, and this has some compelling benefits that I'm looking for. Doesn't have to be a high bar.
Yeah.
All right. Who did I miss on this one? Brent, you want to go twice? No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm good. My heart's still broken from the first one.
All right. We'll help you mend that back together. All right. So let's kind of jump in then to move on to sponsored display ads. Going around the room, just kind of a recap for those of you who may have joined late. We are, of course, doing, this is the judges table for Amazon ad types in 2020. So we are looking to highlight as far as like what are the most compelling aspects of each of these ad types. We did sponsored product ads, sponsored display ads. I'm sorry, sponsored product ads, sponsored brand ads. Now we're going to talk about sponsored display ads. We'll also inject some commentary regarding demand side platform, also display, but just a different animal, entirely different animal for that matter. But we are putting together as the panelists here, the 7 of us are putting together a worksheet, basically a spreadsheet that goes through and details, talks about some of the pros, the cons, and our opinions about each of the ad types and what is working in 2020 for you. So as long as you are on this call or you signed up for this, for one of these calls, then you'll get that sent to you. We will probably, I'm going to give us a couple of weeks here to get that because we kind of want to clean it up and make it pretty. So let's move on to sponsored display ads. And who wants to open up this one?
I'll start again. Sponsored display, one of the newest ad types, right? It launched, oh gosh, I don't want to get the date wrong, but I want to say 6-9 months ago it launched. And when it first launched, it was such a crapshoot, right? The ACOS was terrible, and half the time you couldn't get impressions. And I mean, we all know Amazon, they always launch things half-baked. But over the last several months, they started adding more features, more controls, more targeting options. I really like the retargeting option that they've put in there now. And so you shouldn't, even if you've tried it before and had a bad experience, now's a good time to probably revisit that and look at the new targeting options. There's still a few targeting options that haven't even rolled out to all accounts yet. We've only seen them in a couple of accounts, the searches and not searches and purchases, I think it is. But don't completely write it off if you had a bad experience when it first launched. Go back and look at the new targeting options that have rolled out to sellers and test those. I always recommend that any brand should be testing these ad types on a small scale at least to figure out how it works, to figure out if it works for your product, and then figure out how to scale. Because there's so many different ways to target in the sponsored display, and some still it's going to be a high ACOS, it's more high funnel, it's more it's a very different purpose than what we're used to. It's off Amazon. A lot lot of the sponsored display ads are going off Amazon, and it's a cost per impression model, a cost per click. So there's a lot of differences there, but making sure you're testing them, making sure you're testing that on a small scale, and then rolling out the pieces that work specifically for you and your brand. You don't have to launch the whole enchilada, but figure out what types of targeting, what types of parts of that sponsored display works for you. And we've seen some great returns on some of these sponsored display ads.
Yeah, I kind of want to highlight something. I was going to highlight something that I'm not going to do the full thing, Destiny, so I'll give you a chance here. I was going to highlight something Liz said, is that if you've had a bad experience with any of the ad types, there are that usually is not because of the ad type or because your product doesn't work for it. It's more of a case of you may have not been using the best practices or what has been learned about that ad type, what has been fully tested. All of us have gone through plenty of pain in our history in order to get to where we're at now. And so if you are struggling with ad types that you've tried in the past and it failed, trust me, that's most likely a level of expertise that we can provide you help with. So reach out to any one of us, and I'm pretty confident that pretty much that all 7 of us can provide the needed push, the nudge, the better strategy in order to get you past that bad experience and really realize that, wow, I missed out on a whole lot here.
Yeah, 100%. To tie kind of both of those together, I think it becomes all the more important once you start looking at sponsored display and DSP and sponsored brands to know your goals. We've all kind of joked about sponsored products being easy, and I would put that in quotes if my cat wasn't passed out of my hands right now. But once you move up into like sponsored display and sponsored brands, you have a lot of different goals that are going to be able to be achieved through those. So you kind of move your way up the funnel, as Liz is really fantastic at explaining. To start with purchase intent is typically on sponsored products. You're there to drive conversions. And then with sponsored display, you have the ability to do product targeting, category targeting, which is pretty much purchase intent and winning some market share there. But then once you start looking at views and interest and searches, you're moving your way up the funnel. You're really focusing on brand awareness, and it's a great way to dip your toes into DSP. But don't go into some of these ad types with the mindset of, yeah, I'm going to achieve a sub 10% ACOS and a really high ROAS, because that's not always the best goal. Once you start really building a marketing plan and brand awareness, you need to move your way up the funnel to achieve those different goals. So that's what becomes really important as we move into this new ad types, is you're achieving different goals for longer term play.
Yeah, that's
all.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, George.
Okay, and I was just going to say, if you want to break it down, sponsored product ads is what you start with. Then you move on to sponsored brands, which using the information you got from sponsored products. That's how we work, at least. And then when you move on to display ads, you really want to have the foundations in place. If you look at the display ads and actually look at what it actually is, the audiences, you're targeting shoppers who've looked at viewed product detail pages. So you need your products to be retail ready. And what I mean by retail ready is ensuring that you have a decent amount of reviews behind your product, ensuring that you have a sufficient amount of stock, really fleshed out content in a headline and key features, and also just really good images that's going to capture people's attention. And when you have all of those things in place, then you can really delve into display ads. If you try and move into it from the first month, unless it's an unusual account and you manage to start generating a huge amount of traffic and sales, then we would recommend just kind of backing off of it for the time being until you got kind of your house in order, and then move into display ads. And then if we move on to the realms of DSP, it's a completely different story. So it's making sure that that's kind of, it's more of the advanced version of display ads. So display ads is powered by DSP. There's certain elements of it that's kind of done for it. And actually, the DSP gives us really great insights into what to expect of display ads. So with the product targeting that's just come out, which is like really awesome for targeting within Amazon, that option that you have now, and taking a cost per click model as well, which is very different to the kind of the DSP. It's just more opportunity, but I wouldn't kind of just dive in. Like Brian said, consult us as a team, because we would have experimented with this, and we can tell you if it's going to be a good fit for you right now, or maybe for something to consider kind of in the near future.
George, like one of the things that you said on there was they had it as far as like being ad ready, as far as retail ready and ad ready, really having your listings, dialed in, and usually that's kind of impending doom for some, sellers, kind of like, because they don't have like really the eye as far as like, okay, what do I need to improve? Usually that's more of a case of, succinct titles that are not word stuffed, that are directly relevant to the audience, bullet points that are talking to the benefits, not just features. And certainly having a full set of quality images and of course a video or two are great ways in order to get there. One of the things that we take for granted sometimes at our level is we work with a lot of new brands that come in, and their overall conversion rate. So in other words, in their business report, the unit session percentage, for instance, of their products is often quite a bit higher, 2 to 3 times higher of a conversion rate in their overall USP kind of conversion rate compared to their ads. That is a reflection of how well the ads are set up and managed. So if you go in and you look at your business report and look at your unit session percentage, and that number is significantly higher as a percentage than what your ad conversion rate is, then you definitely need to seek some help because we tend to operate on a level of we're using ads in order to beat the conversion rates of the USP, not be a victim of them. So I appreciate you bringing up the being ad ready and being retail ready.
Yeah, for me, I think
Go ahead, Aaron.
for me, I think that display, it could be thought of as like broken up into prospecting and remarketing. And with prospecting, like the new ASIN targeting is awesome for like quick profitable wins, but it's very incremental, like very low ad inventory. Except if it's like DSP, then it's like huge ad inventory, but that's like a completely different beast. But when it comes to remarketing though, using display for remarketing, like George was saying, it's like you want to make sure that you're ready for that in all other aspects of your advertisements. Because like remarketing, you can drive really profitable sales, but it's so limited based off of how many visits you get on your page. So the better all your other marketing tactics are, the better your remarketing is going to be. And that's where like this whole synergy comes into place, and you could just go beast, just having everything, like all your ducks in a row at that point.
I love that. Go beast.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my bad.
I'll jump in I think that display advertising as a type is going to necessitate a mindset change in a lot of business owners, advertisers, companies on Amazon. In addition to the CPM model versus a CPC model, they have to wrap their heads around that and understand that first. And I think that the people who move now and try to get into display ad types, whether that's the basic version we got in Seller Central or DSP, are the ones that are going to reap the biggest rewards up front, at this time, because it's a lot less crowded. People don't understand it. It's in beta. It's not available in a lot of countries. And as I think, Brian, you mentioned, some of the features for sponsored display are available in some accounts and not others. I mean, if you have that available to you, your competitor might literally not even be able to compete in the same arena. So talk about, unfair fight. That sounds like pretty good to me if I'm the one on the upside of that exchange.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to necessitate a mindset change for people and how this works, and allowing us to zoom out and think more mid-funnel, high funnel, recapturing people's purchase intent once they've left but haven't bought, for instance. This is zooming far outside of what we're used to with sponsored products and sponsored brands, which is very low funnel, very direct in a lot of cases. So that's why I'm very bullish on it.
Very good.
Yeah, I think people need to, as we look at these new ad types like sponsored display and whatnot, and Destiny touched on this with her, in talking about goals and what we're measuring. You really do need to be aware of what these different ad types are designed for. Where sponsored product is that high purchase intent, as Destiny was saying, and so ROAS is going to be high, it costs low, because people are there shopping, ready to buy, and they're going to purchase. When you start moving into something like sponsored display or DSP, yes, there are still some bottom of funnel opportunities there, like the remarketing can be really powerful and it can have a really high ROAS. But you need to not ignore things like searches and purchases and the CPM models and things like that, because those, even though they have a high ACOS, low ROAS, what you're doing is they're up in the top of that funnel, and they're creating more brand awareness, and you're funneling more customers into that bottom purchase piece of the funnel. So your bottom of the funnel is getting bigger. When you're focusing on that top level brand awareness, focusing on impressions and engagement and not worrying so much about ROAS. And as we get more into the DSP discussion, that's where a lot of that comes into play. But even with the sponsored display, with searches and purchases and category targeting and interest targeting, don't be scared if the ACOS is high. Instead, you should be looking at, is this expanding my overall sales? Is this funneling down into am I seeing increases in impressions and clicks in sponsored products? Because theoretically, someone saw my ad somewhere. They may not have clicked and purchased at that time, but they saw that ad 5 or 6 or 7 times. Now they're getting interested. Now they're thinking about my brand. Now they're coming to Amazon and clicking on either organic placement or sponsored product placement. One of the, so you need to be watching your total when you're doing top of funnel, and ROAS is terrible, but look at the big picture. Look at whether or not sales are increasing. Look at whether or not traffic's increasing. One of the things we always complain about to Amazon over and over and over again, and they've heard it and they're aware of it, and they keep telling us, yeah, we're thinking about this, and we'll see. But it is that lack of cross-platform attribution, right? We can't see that journey the customer's taking. We don't really know. Did they see an ad off Amazon through DSP or sponsored display first, and then they came into into another doorway somewhere? But if we could see that journey, if we could see that, oh, first they saw this ad, then they saw that ad, then they saw this ad, now they purchased, I think it would be so much easier to sell sponsored display in DSP, because we could actually see that journey and validate, oh yeah, just because I had a low ROAS and a high ACOS over here, it was still beneficial because they eventually purchased, 3 weeks later, or whatever the case was.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. I think in the next year, the attribution absolutely needs to get better than what it's at right now, in part because we're demanding it.
I've seen in a few accounts where we're actually starting to get some of that data that we see on the DSP side on the sponsored display side. It's not a full rollout whatsoever, but I saw, cost per, I think, add to cart the other day added in there, cost per detail page views on sponsored display. So it's a really small start. It's really interesting to see the numbers everyone's posting with sponsored display versus what it actually is, because it is so lower in the funnel. But getting that data is going to be huge. And to get that data, you need to start running them almost immediately.
Yeah, it's beneficial to set up like separate KPIs for each of the funnel, like top, because then you can really optimize down into making sure that your top of the funnel, yeah, it's going to have a higher ACOS, but it still meets your different goal to meet your overall goal.
Yeah, and when I spoke to one of the agents at Amazon a few months ago at a programmatic event, one of the things they mentioned is that acquisition with Seismic, and the big things that they're going to be focused on with them is attribution and is conversions, and the ability to track the sales that comes from the DSP a lot better, to provide us with far more information and insight, so we can just make much more educated decisions about where we want to push further and how our goals are going to match up with what we're doing. So that's kind of something, especially in the next kind of 8-9 months, we're going to see a lot of movement and improvement there. So, but yeah, that's my take on it.
I look forward to that. Right now, you need to request one of the most important reports in DSP manually and get them to send it to you.
It's so cheeky.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say as far as with display is that, we're using it so much for, just acquiring market share from competition. It's very common. In this year, we've seen so many times where we work with brands that they come in, and one of their biggest pain points, I guess, is that their competition, they're kind of just saying, well, competition must be doing something because my year-over-year sales are either flat or declining. Now, obviously, this has been a very unusual year as far as seasonality and spikes and lulls. But one of the things that we definitely see is the lot of the new ad types, especially display ads, have really, come into their own this year. And most brands, most sellers are still not using it. and therefore in pretty much every niche that we operate in, we see where a couple of competitors have figured it out, and they're just gaining market share like crazy from everybody else in that same pool. And so we get the frustrated, brand that comes in and says, what the heck's going on? It's like, well, you're getting eaten alive by your competitors because you're only doing 15% of the ad space that you could be doing. Let's get it corrected for you. And that's a very common conversation we have, and we get it done. And so, display ads themselves, those things those came out in beta, gosh, what was it, August of 2018. So coming up on 2 years now since it originally released. And that is the longest beta I've ever seen out of Amazon, to finally come out and be readily available just in 2020. And then for them to start adding on the types and sponsored display. So obviously they were very hesitant as far as being able to roll that out. A lot of it had to do, I think, with the off Amazon advertising. They just didn't quite have their ad network down, solidified yet. So it took them a lot longer than they probably expected to. But it has really, some of the on detail page ads that are just, the way I describe it to new clients that we work with is, look, here's these, 3 main competitors who irritate you on a regular basis. Here's what they've done on your product detail page. They've walked onto your front lawn and they put their own for sale sign on your front lawn. What are you going to do about it? And a lot of them just don't have the strategy. So that's my analogy there.
It's fascinating. I love that, Brian, because one thing we do find is this lack of discussion around market share. And actually saying to clients, what you've always been doing isn't going to see you through this next bit, especially if you've got other competitors who are willing to go aggressive, have market share as a focus, and you're all about the ACOS and profitability. Because I'm coming across more and more sellers now than ever before that where they just take aggression as the first kind of call to get in that market share, losing money for a little bit so that they can just acquire that space. And that's something you really have to consider. And these new tools are allowing them to do that and just bleed. So like bleed sales from you. And one of the big things I've noticed now, even Amazon, they're being cheeky with their ads now, because I'm looking at some of my products, clients' products, and Amazon is saying just above our products, have you considered these cheaper alternatives? And I'm like, we're paying PPC ads to send to that product to then provide sales for these other items. So it's just having a bigger picture before you go into any of these ad spaces really is going to be so important. Do you have a strong enough unique selling point to provide to the marketplace? If you haven't, what are you going to do about it? Because you just can't keep pushing into PPC with that. And that's just my take. That's my little rant.
That's kind of a common one. We similar rant that we probably have on a regular basis too. So sometimes it's easy to get frustrated with brands who are just like, they just don't understand, like, you're not just falling behind, you're about ready to get eaten, like severely, because all it takes is for a couple more of your competitors to get savvy or have somebody like us to start working with them, and you're going to get squashed. We see that time and time again this year.
Yeah.
Cool. So Sean, is it just me, or is it now showing 7 videos?
Yeah, 7 cameras.
Hey.
I figured that out in the last 5 minutes here. So let me do one thing. So did we have any other kind of like other additional comments that anybody was saving specifically for DSP?
I do. Is it cool if I say them?
Yes.
Cool. I just want to make sure I'm clear. I would say for me, the most compelling stuff for DSP and sponsored display was this is something we're dealing with is product restrictions. So I have like a client with a pretty good catalog of products, and we're not able to run sponsored display or DSP for these products. And the problem here is I launched some DSP ads, and it like accelerated the velocity of the SKU extremely high. And so I'm like kind of upset because the products that are restricted are not going to be able to achieve those types of numbers because there are restrictions. So the ad policy is different on Amazon versus off Amazon. And one thing that's kind of frustrating with sponsored display is you have two ad types, is audience and product targeting. But the problem is I would launch sponsored display product targeting for these restricted categories, which should be fine because it's all on Amazon advertising, but they still won't let us launch them. And I can't get around that stuff. So I think that's compelling for me because brands that are restricted, it's going to limit the growth of the specific SKU on the platform because you can't run DSP traffic or sponsored display traffic. And those are really, really strong ad types. And then I would say, what else? The lack of technical support for product for SD is kind of like compelling to me just because they do support audience, but they don't support product targeting. So that sucks. And it makes it hard to like do things at scale pretty much. So lack of technical support there is something that like kind of frustrates me a little bit because they've had the audience support for a little bit now in the bulk file, but they don't have it for the product targeting. And then I would say DSP results. So George kind of like took me to the kingdom of DSP a little bit, and he was like, "Dude, gotta launch these ads." And I said, "All right, man, let's see what happens." And dude, we this one product that we launched for one of our clients, it took it from like I basically had my client measure the growth of the product, the 30-day numbers, and it grew really, really fast. And the only variable that obviously it's a multivariate platform, but we're trying to get some insight. But the amount of growth we saw with that one SKU in like 3 weeks is nuts. So we opened it up and we're going to launch more of them. So I'd say I'm really impressed with the results in DSP and surprised because I had never seen those types of results. So I'm really excited for 2020 because, this DSP stuff's nuts. So I'm excited to just scale this beast out and spend some cheds on it, make some ched. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do.
DSP for me is that just next big, just super big opportunity that brands need to be leveraging. And we're seeing, so many brands think, oh, historically you could only do it through managed and it was a super high minimum ad spend and
Right.
ROAS was terrible. And anytime you run anything through Amazon, ROAS is going to be terrible, just a caveat there. But if you, running through an agency like ours, where we work more closely with those brands to make sure we understand your goals and understand, okay, well, if your goals are X, Y, and Z, then these, out of the 20 plus ad types or things or targeting you could be running in DSP, we can pick the subset of, okay, these parts of DSP will align with your goals. These parts won't, we won't touch it. I mean, DSP is such a beast. There's so many things you can do with it, so many cool things, everything from really low bottom of funnel like retargeting, which can be very, very profitable, to top of funnel Alexa voice ads are launching. You can run videos on Amazon Fire TV and Fire tablet wake screens, and those are very high funnel, kind of low ROAS, but kind of build that brand awareness and allow you to access audiences that you can't access with any of the other ad types.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Liz, is that obviously you want to make some cheds, as Sean said.
Dude, if we don't make people cheds, we ain't making money. That's the bottom line on this beast.
Yeah, it was a good point actually, as far as Liz, is that most people are still under the perception. It's kind of like that whole bad experience thing. It's like they got marketed to by Amazon and said, hey, do you want to spend $35,000 a month and get a bunch of ad impressions where we can't really guarantee the ROI? And it's like, that's a double no. And so things have changed, obviously. There are agencies like ours. I think everybody in this room, Amazon has granted the ability to run DSP as an agency. So you don't have that $35,000 minimum per month. Obviously, any one of us can assist you in jumping into DSP if you've ever been scared off by Amazon's terms in the past. Take a look at it again. There's a lot of new things that have evolved this year. So cool. Other DSP comments?
Yeah, can I just add something? So in terms of like it working really well for you, we've got a criteria, and we found that the criteria, if a client ever matches it, there's a really high success rate of DSP working. And some of that criteria, it comes down to the volume of traffic over certain products. So if you have a marketplace that does over 100,000 in sales across a concentrated amount of products. If those ASINs are closely matched, so there's a scope for cross-selling, they tend to do really well. And also on an extreme level of being retail ready, if you've got any products that have the bestseller badge, the 4 or 5 brands that we've done this for it's gone absolutely ballistic, and we can't keep it in stock. Like however much they plan, we just can't keep it in stock, those products. So the bestseller badge, if you've got that as well, you definitely ought to reach out to someone here and get onto DSP. Another thing that we're doing as well is we're closely monitoring this with one of our clients, is that the DSP, especially I'm talking more about kind of bottom of the funnel, because that's just at the moment what's really exciting me, and we're seeing some really crazy results, is the conversion rates. It makes the conversion rates on Amazon go crazy, because when someone has viewed the product and they already have engaged in some way, and then you get them back, it helps with the conversion rates, and that's ultimately helping rank. We're seeing a lot. And if you're also driving a lot of traffic from all different places across the web, through Facebook, through Google, through every other medium, Amazon DSP is probably going to be a really good way for you to kind of just sync everything well together. And that's something to really think about. And then the realm of the middle and top funnel, there's just so much scope there, but you're not going to see kind of the ROAS as you see at the bottom of the funnel. But again, that comes all down to goals and making sure that you've got goals in place to maximize the growth. But if you're looking to eat market share and you're looking to take over someone else's space and dominate in the marketplace, then DSP is a tool you definitely should have a look at.
It's interesting kind of to extend that thought too, as far as the increasing market share, is that one of the challenges that we've run into, of course, this year with COVID is you work with brands that have a product or two that has spiked and just gone wild during the last 3 months. It's just really taken off primarily because of COVID. Now, usually what we run into is, you know, obviously that song's going to stop at some point, right? You know, so that's going to obviously retract. But it is still an opportunity for a brand that has that situation in order to gain more market share at the end result of it. So, you know, we've certainly seen cases where the brand was fully expecting is that when it all stops, it's going to go right back to the same level it was before it all started. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually position yourself correctly if you set up the full. I think the way Liz described it was pretty apt, in that. You know, depending on what your goals are, if your goals, for instance, are to retain more of that market share than what you had previous to COVID, you definitely want to have a comprehensive ad strategy in order to make sure you've got the visibility and you're gaining that market share before everything retracts back, or as things retract back. That way you're going to have higher visibility, higher market share when all things just settle down. Right. Cool. Any last comments on DSP? All right, so what I'm going to do next is I am going to ask Sean. I'm going to share the where is it? This screen here. Let me know if that's actually showing there.
Yeah, you're good. I see it. Oh, by the way, guys, I bought a WWF belt for this, but it's in Chicago. Unfortunately, I got it delivered because I'm in St. Louis now for I had a family emergency. But yeah, so me and Aaron, when we're in Chicago and we got the WWE belt, we'll be sure to make an announcement on which ad type.
You should have told me. I would have gotten it.
Oh, dude, hey, it's sitting outside of my door right now, dude. So
that's funny.
Go grab that. Piece. I wouldn't hate it.
I want to kind of highlight again, as far as like for each of us who are here on the panel today. First of all, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching the replay too. Here are the basically our names, our pictures, of course, and of course here are the websites where you can get a hold of us to reach out. Definitely recommend you do that. At least get some kind of a strategy call going with each of us to see what is the best fit for your brand. While I've got this up, Sean, were there any questions or comments from the crowd that we wanted to address?
Let's see here. Eldad asks, are these recorded? Yeah, they're recorded, and we'll send all 4 of the recordings once, after this. All right, cool.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
So Michael asks, anyone got some views on bid automation software versus hands-on optimization?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on that is pretty public already, is that we certainly use, I mean, like we use software, AI solutions, that kind of stuff primarily for competitive research and for analytics. We don't tend to do it for, like, say, bid management. Bid management is a fairly easy thing to do, so we do certainly have things that speed up the work that we do. But I think the challenge that we usually see on mainly just because we do get a lot of clients that come out of fully automated software platforms. I'm sure each of you probably have the same case where you get plenty of referrals. Business is good when it comes to referrals out of fully automated software.
Yeah.
But a lot of those, most of the software platforms, they just don't, they'll support sponsored product ads just fine. That's pretty easy, low-hanging fruit. But they have not caught up when it comes to the complexities of ad strategy, when it comes to brand ads and display ads. Obviously, that's one of the things where consultants like us excel, where our teams have developed processes and strategies that are proven over time. And we stay on top of everything that's new and act on it quickly. That's obviously one of the kind of the unique selling propositions of the folks that are in this room today, is that we jump on everything that's new and we test it. We battle test it to make sure that it is that it works well for each of our clients. And oftentimes we don't get software support. We've got to hammer out the strategies on our own well ahead of time. Any other opinions on that? Any counter opinions on software?
Yeah, bid optimization automation is a tool, not an entire solution. So it's a tool like any other tool we have, like bulk uploads or I don't know, creating your own custom macros. It just has to be used and guided by a human hand. There's no such thing as like a hands-off approach to Amazon PPC. I think that's a dream that's sold, but not really realized in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. Software solutions are fantastic. They can be great in, congregating all the data in ways that are better than what Amazon does. It can allow you to do things in bulk. You can set up automated rules that that you're overseeing and that you're creating and you're designing.
Right.
And AI can be powerful as well, but it has to be, because we've used AI in the past, and it works well for some campaigns. It doesn't work well for other campaigns. You have to understand how the AI algorithm works, how you can influence it, whether or not it's designed to hit your goals or not. And so you have to, any software platform you use, you need to understand how it's built, how it works, what the formulas are behind it, if it's changing the bids for you, so that you can figure out if it does align with your goals, and you can figure out how to influence it, how to update it, so like Brent was saying, it's a tool that needs oversight and needs a human to come in and manage and fill in the gaps where no machine, no AI, no automation is ever going to be completely 100%. People are not going to be replaced. There's too many nuances in advertising.
Yeah, and by no means am I, for instance, I'm not dogging, AI. I mean, I love it. I'm a geek that way, but I completely agree. Is that the strategy, because things change so quickly and will continue to do so, given how much Amazon is putting into resources and teams into develop new ad types and technologies. You're always going to need somebody to be able to jump in there much faster than the development life cycle works.
My favorite quick example to kind of summarize all that is video ads have been out since October. We've driven like $500,000 in sales for our clients with video. The API, bid release for it was released, 6 weeks ago? Right. And that's when people are starting to get shiny object syndrome, like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, man, this is like 7 months old.
Yeah. Right. Well, even like audio, audio beta came out last year, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, audio beta is available. It's like,
Yes.
Because it's shiny,
Yep.
That actually has a lot of potential too. We're doing a lot of testing on that, but
I think Liz, when you touched on knowing exactly the formulas in the software that you're using, I think that's key, because like the biggest mistake that I see about people who are using software is that they just don't really know, because the software markets themselves very well. They say that they do bid management, they'll find new keywords, but it's like, for example, one brand we talked to, they were like, oh yeah, the software does everything. And it's like they even find new keywords, but it's like the software, when I dug deep into the software, it was like it only mines keywords that appear within the search term report. So it's not actually looking for brand new keywords to try to expand your market share. It's literally only getting what was from like an auto campaign or a broad match campaign. So that's, I mean, that was preventing them from growing so much more for years, right?
That is,
so really
that is so true.
software is important.
Yeah, that is so true, Aaron. Is that you know, kind of like what you're saying is that there's this perception of those who you're using the software. And I like to call them the black box solutions, where I don't know what's going on. They're just handling everything, and they've literally been sold through good marketing. It's like, oh, we handle everything, and you come in, it's like you realize they're only doing 15-20% of what you could be doing, right? And they're like, no, they're doing everything. It's like, yeah, well, that's why you're here, right? You know? So obviously something's not working there. And now, don't get me wrong, I've seen some examples, like kind of what Liz mentioned, is that certain campaigns, certain types of ads, you can see platforms that just rocket ship and they just do phenomenally well. But it's not an everyday case. Those are more of like, hey, that's cool to see, and it's awesome. But at the same time, we also still get plenty of examples that are passed over that it's like it's the opposite of that. So it's there's a lot of development that still is going to happen on that over the next few years. So cool.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So do we want to jump in? So we are at, what time are we at now here?
Is it
So
vote time?
it is time. Yes. Let's go ahead and wrap this, right? So vote time. Let's go around the room and say, okay, sponsor product ads, sponsor brand ads. We're going to wrap in sponsor display ads, because that's what we did with round 2, I guess it was. What has your compelling vote, or your vote, as far as being the most compelling to you in 2020? Liz, let's start with you.
Yeah, the most exciting opportunity for me is DSP. Just how many different things you can do with it, top to bottom funnel, so many levers to pull, so many different things you can target. So that's my vote.
Okay, so display. All right, Brant.
Yeah, display for me as well, DSP primarily, but I think as we use sponsored display inside of Seller Central more and more, and that starts to borrow more of the features, tools, metrics that we get from DSP now, which are multivariate, we're going to see that become more used. So for 2020 in particular, incredibly bullish on display and DSP.
Okay, Sean.
Yeah, man. As a new DSP convert, I would say that for me, it's early, but DSP gets my vote. I mean, like, I think the big thing was, real quick, what George said about how when the conversion rate goes up, it translates to organic as well. And we saw some crazy, like flywheel effects. And so, yeah, for me, it's going to be DSP right now.
Okay, Destiny.
I'm going to stick with my roots here on the AMS side of things and say sponsored brands. I do think DSP is going to be incredible, but I'm super excited for the creative control that we're getting with, sponsored brands, posts, store pages, and video.
All right, cool. Aaron.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go against the wave too. So I'm gonna stick with sponsored products, just because like on a daily basis, I audit numerous 7-figure brands and I consistently see holes within their sponsored product advertisements. So it's just like, man, like if you have just a little bit of time, put it in towards that. Like that'll have a higher ROI than a lot of these other new sexy ad formats. So I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay, George.
I'm gonna go with DSP as well. It's just got so many options and features, and one of the big things is the barrier of entry. It's just so incredibly high. It just makes it hard for a lot of sellers to get in, which then leaves those sellers who do get in and are in the right place to do this have a massive edge.
Cool. Okay. So I was, and I was leaning towards, I mean, I was actually really compelled as far as what both Aaron and Destiny said, is that I wanted to pull myself over to sponsor product ads for the same reasons. For sponsor product, because of the holes that so many people miss, especially with auto targeting groups. There's still a lot of people don't understand on that piece of it. From a sponsor brand side, the video and the creative and what's coming is a massive opportunity. I think that's got to be more of a 2021 thing now. So for 2020, I'm going to have to go with display, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go counter. I'm not going to go DSP specifically, but I'm still going to go with display because one of the things I'm pretty passionate about is stealing market share from competitors. So I do love taking up real estate that previously belonged to somebody else. So I'm going to vote on display. So kind of wrapping that up, the majority has it is that display ads are the most compelling for 2020 for many reasons. We certainly understand that you have questions on that. I'm going to put our slide back up as far as how to reach us. I will ask for each of you to go through and say if there's anything in addition as far as a contact point or a resource you want to point out. Since this is our closing session here, if you've got additional email or a website or something like that, other than what shows up on the panelist slide here, then I welcome each of you to bring that up. But each of us are certainly qualified. We do have full teams, processes, systems, and tools in order to help medium and large and CPG companies globally with their Amazon advertising at a very high level, in other words, very advanced level. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity to have that strategy conversation with each of you. Reach out. And so any closing comments?
Wish we had the belt.
Wish we had the belt, right? Yeah. So the ding ding ding.
It's right, dude. It's in a package. It's in the Amazon package right outside my door right now.
Bit of a surprise victory, I gotta say. Do you feel like display comes from behind there?
Well, I think when we first started this out, we were suggesting it's like, well, sponsored products is still moving most of the volume, right? But the level of competition, I mean, there's a number of reasons, obviously, we talk about in the pros and cons worksheet that we'll send out here in the next couple of weeks to everybody who registered. There's certainly a reason. I mean, each ad type is definitely compelling. I think we all were in agreement that they all work synergistically. They all work together in order to produce a much greater, when used properly, when you use for good, not for evil, they actually work fantastic when they're set up properly. And because they're constantly changing and adapting, it gives us great opportunities to be first movers on new ad types and new tactics. And fortunately, we all get to collaborate too on a regular basis and discuss among us as far as what is working well. So if you tap into any one of our organizations, you will win. So that's kind of my closing comment there. Let me switch back over and show the contact slide again here. Oops, let me see if I can get the right one going here. George, do you have any other contact point that you want to mention on yours?
Yeah, so you can go to george@clearads.co.uk. That's a way to get in touch with me personally. Otherwise, there's a contact form on the website. Either way, it'll be me or come through to.
Okay, fantastic. Destiny, how about yourself?
Yeah, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, Facebook, well, any social media for the most part, and definitely check out our website and see what we're doing. And you can fill out a form to directly schedule time on my calendar there.
Perfect. All right, Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron at emazing.io, or just send me a DM on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Perfect. Brent?
Yeah, you can hit me up at hello@amzpathfinder.com or LinkedIn or Facebook. Any one of those is fine.
Cool. And for anybody who's listening, I would take a screenshot of this just so you have this for when we jump off the call here. Liz, how about yourself?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message through there. It's a great way to contact me. If you go to the BuyBox Experts website, you can see again what we've been working on. We do a lot more than just ad management, and you can there's a contact us form you can fill out, and we'll get in touch with you.
Cool. Sean?
Just head over to ppcamsaccelerator.com or send me a DM on Facebook. You know, it always goes down in DM. So
Yeah. Hashtag Cheds.
Yeah. Discount code #Jets.
And then for myself, we had this long convoluted, kind of like adding to the whole attribution topic, being able to track things here. I actually put out, because I realized that the canopy.management was confusing for a number of people, that is an actual domain. You can certainly join us out there, or you can use that. I went ahead and typed out the URL down below here if you want to contact us and set up a strategy call. We do, of course, more than Amazon PPC as well. We are considered a full service agency, as many of us offer multiple services within this group. I want to say, let's go ahead and close out PPC Battle 2020. Thank you to each of you for being in these 4 sessions. It has been a pleasure to get a chance to talk with you further, kind of pick your brain on each of these topics. I definitely feel blessed getting a chance to collaborate with each of you. So thank you very much.
Same here.
Yeah,
Thank you,
likewise.
guys.
Thank you.
Likewise,
Thank you,
Brian.
guys.
It's been great. I've taken notes
Thank you,
too.
guys.
Yes.
Take
I've been
care.
taking notes too.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, if you want to close out the session. Oh, anybody, any other closing? No. All right. See you.
Farewell.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a screenshot, but I think George
George,
missed out.
yeah, he had to run. Yep.
Yeah,
George
yeah.
still there? Oh no.
That's all right. No
Peace.
worries. Yeah, cool. All right, guys.
Got places to be.
All right.
Thank
Take
you,
care, everybody.
All right, farewell.